We bring you local news, business news, international, sports, and entertainment news. Right here on GTR.
Midday on Ghana Talks Radio. My name is Sandra. Asante top stories. Funerals, churches, cinemas to operate at full capacity. President Akufo Addo says schools in Kyiv to reopen online on Monday. 6 killed in Nigeria petrol tanker explosion. There's some more stories after the break.
We bring you local news, business news, international, sports, and entertainment news. Right here on GTR.
Welcome back from the break to a first story. The president of Ghana, Akufo Addo, has stated that henceforth funerals, churches, cinemas, and all other events can be held in its full capacity without the restrictions imposed on them due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The president also said political rallies and parties may resume in its full capacity as long as the people are vaccinated. He said this while addressing the nation on Sunday, March 27, 2022, when measures taken too far against COVID-19. According to the president, the restrictions imposed on the people due to the pandemic has helped to reduce the disease in the country, hence lifting the restrictions. He also said the wearing of face masks is no longer mandatory, urging the public to continue to maintain hand-washing practices and observe social distances when they go for such event. For the land borders, he mentioned that they are now open to Ghanaians who travel to neighboring countries and have not been able to return, as well as those who transact business in the neighboring countries using the land borders. President Akufo Addo said government is putting in place measures to ensure that the over 20 million Ghanaians are vaccinated against the virus, hence setting up more vaccination centers. To the letter, he encouraged the public, especially those who have not been vaccinated, to ensure to do so moving forward.
From tomorrow, Monday, 28th March, the wearing of face masks is no longer mandatory. I encourage all of you, though, to continue to maintain hand hygiene practices and avoid overcrowded gatherings. All in-person activities, such as those that take place in churches, mosques, conferences, workshops, private parties and events. Monday, the 28th March, all land and sea borders will be opened. Fully vaccinated travelers will be allowed entry through the land and sea borders without a negative PCR test result from the country of origin. Citizens and foreign residents in Ghana who are not fully vaccinated will have to produce a negative 48-hour PCR test result and will be offered vaccination on arrival. Fellow Ghanaians, it has been a difficult 2 years for all of us, and we're seeing light at the end of a very long tunnel. I appeal to all of you to live responsibly, protect yourselves at all times, and do everything.
To our next story, former President John Dramani Mahama has urged at the country's judicial system. They has charged them, alleging that it has been manipulated by political powers. Addressing the U.S. Charter of the National Democratic Congress (NDC) at the Bentley University over the weekend, Mr. Mahama said the party has a problem with the judiciary. The 2020 NDC flag bearer who lost the elections and the subsequent petition at the Supreme Court insist that judiciary must undergo urgent reforms. We do have problems with the judiciary. I must say, I think that it is necessary for some internal reforms to take place there. It is necessary for the Chief Justice or whoever is responsible to make some reforms. The former president also touched on how the NDC uncovered millions of illegal ballot papers printed for 2020 polls.
In 2020, and the chairman has spoken a bit about what happened during that election. We went to the Supreme Court after the election. It was an election that was like no other. One, in the sense of the fact that it left 8 of our citizens dead, brutally gunned down by people who supposedly were in uniform. And we know that a lot of those people are the invisible and Delta forces and other forces that have been drafted into the army and the police. Our forces have been quite disciplined forces, and today you see some of them and you wonder whether these are real disciplined Ghanaian soldiers or policemen. You see them with beard, very thick beards, and then you see them wearing earrings, and then they wear Azubu masks against mosquitoes and things like that, Well, they asked Azubu why they were wearing masks, and he says because of mosquitoes. These, previously, we've all been MPs before. The security in collation centers and around electoral polling stations was handled mainly by the police. The military were not involved. On this occasion, you could see military in polling stations, and you could see them in collation centers. And I think that it was wrong. We went to court for many reasons. One, because there were many anomalies in the results. The electoral commissioner, as the chairman said, went to an unknown location and declared the results from there. And after she declared the results didn't tally. And so they came and changed the results and changed it, we don't know how many, multiple times. And so that, was an issue that we had to deal with. Apart from that, there were problems with the collation. In some of the regional collations, the figures didn't add up. There were mistakes in the figures that were collated. Aside from that, on the pink sheets, they sent one pink sheet to Parliament, which was passed under the constitutional instrument, because you have to send it to Parliament under a CI. And on that pink sheet, there was a column which said you had to record how many people had been verified by the biometric machine. Now look at the subterfuge. When we were preparing for the election, just before the election, we noticed that they had swapped the pink sheet. And the pink sheet that was used for the election did not have the column for biometric, how many people were biometrically registered. And so when we raised it, they said, oh, it's an error and something that they'll rectify it. So then what they did was they gave the electoral officers a stamp and said that they should stamp, after they filled the pink sheet, they should stamp and record the number.
Still on local stories, the National House of Chiefs has urged Ghanaians to reject suggestions that coup d'etat is an alternative to democratic rule. In the past few months, some analysts have cautioned that the poor state of the country's economy may make Ghana susceptible to coup orchestrations. Recently, the Dean of the University of Ghana School of Law, Professor Raymond Atuguba, expressed concerns about the country's current financial state being a threat to its democracy. We do not want a coup in this country, yet I fear that if we do not act quickly, we may have one in our hands very soon, he said while delivering a lecture in Accra. The Vice President Mahama Bawumia cut sword for the work to commence on the Kumasi Inner City roads project at the ceremony at the Suo Yeboah in the Kwadaso municipality of the Ashanti region. This is part of the Master Project Support Agreement (MPSA) between governments of Ghana and the People's Republic of China through the Sino Hydro Corporation. It is one of the 10 lots under the first phase of the MPSA, which involves the construction of 2 interchanges and construction rehabilitation of 441 kilometers of the road network. It is expected to be completed within 30 months. The Minister of Roads and Highway, Honorable Akwasi Amoakwata, stated that all those affected by the project will be compensated.
For the payment of compensation to properties that shall be affected by the project. Let me re-emphasize this point, because this area has always been turning, and you may hear all kinds of speculations and lies from our detractors. Our government is a just government, a government that believes in rule of law, a government that will not and has never engaged in arbitrariness. All those who will be affected, all persons,
GTR News.
Those who will be affected by this project are going to be paid compensation that is rightly due them.
Meanwhile, the Vice President, Mahama Bawumia, said that the project will see the upgrading of 100 kilometers of the road network within Kumasi, Kwadaso, Bantama, Swame, Tafo, Pokrono, Asokwa, Oforikrom, Sabin, Shayeso, Menshia, and Asante Mampo, not forgetting Ifijuase and Asokori.
This a country and say, acquire MPP abain ye completed roads in 4 years. The completed roads are changed. Roads are NDC 4 years in 8 years. 4 years no, I change omo completed roads no of 8 years. Enti omo ayade pa nyamishra omo.
To some business story, following the finance minister's announcement of measures to mitigate economic challenges, Deputy Ranking Member of Parliament's Finance Committee has accused the Bank of Ghana of engaging in a deception to borrow an amount of $2 million from the consortium of local banks. Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, speaking at the 105th Monetary Policy Committee press conference, disclosed the facility from the local banks will be used to support the city, which has seen its value fall by 20% to the US dollar this year, which, according to the NASDAQ, is only second to the Russian ruble. Reacting to the development in write-up, Isaac Adongo questioned the motive behind the loan. According to him, proceeds of the facility, which he describes as illegal, will be used in paying $1.6 billion offshore interest liability. However, the president, in his Sunday's Nation's address, has promised to rebound the economy.
President, I assure you that sooner rather than later, our economy will rebound from the ravages of COVID-19. The policies we are implementing will, with your active support, help grow the economy at a much faster rate, help create jobs for the youth, and help us overcome the difficulties we're faced with. This too shall pass.
Indeed, this too shall pass. Still on business stories, global oil prices have fallen as China starts to implement a citywide lockdown in Shanghai, an important financial and manufacturing hub. Brent crude lost more than $4.50 a barrel on concerns that the move would mean that the demand for oil will fall. The Shanghai Composite Stock Index fell in early trade before regaining most of its losses later in the day. The lockdown, which began on Monday, is China's largest since the coronavirus outbreak began more than 2 years ago. The futures contract for Brent oil crude, an international benchmark for oil prices, was down by 4% at $115.80 a barrel. Despite the fall, oil remains almost 80% higher than it was a year ago after the war in Ukraine helped to drive up prices. You're still tuning to the afternoon news on Ghana Talks Radio and International Front. Ukrainian Deputy Minister Iran Vereshkuz has accused Russia of committing irresponsible and potentially dangerous acts around the occupied Chernobyl power station. The site, the scene of the world's worst nuclear accident, was taken soon after Russia invaded Ukraine on 24th of February. She accused Russia of materializing the site and transporting old and poorly maintained weapons near it, which she said could damage a containment vessel around it to destroy Fort Rector. She also accused Russian troops of preventing firefighters from combating a number of fires in the area. Meanwhile, a White House official has said that the U.S. president was not calling for a regime change after his remark at a speech in Poland stating President Putin cannot remain in power.
A dictator bent on rebuilding an empire will never erase a people's love for liberty. Brutality will never grind down their will to be free. Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia, for free people refused to live in a world of hopelessness and darkness. We will have a different future, a brighter future, rooted in democracy and principles, hope and light, of decency and dignity, of freedom and possibilities. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. God bless you all, and may God defend our freedom, and may God protect our troops. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.
Students in the capital, Kyiv, will be able to resume school today via remote learning online. Kyiv's mayor announced the reopening on Sunday, saying courses will be more adapted to the current situation using different educational platforms. An important task today is for the city to live and work even in such difficult conditions of martial law, said Lisko in a Telegram post. They are trying to intimidate us, and that will not work, he said. The UN estimates more than half of the nation's children have fled the country during the war. 2 police officers have been shot dead in an attack in the northern Israeli city of Hadera. Police said the gunmen were Israeli Arab citizens. They were shot dead by undercover officers. The Islamic State IS group said it was behind the attack in a statement posted on social media. One of the assailants in the latest incident tried to join IS, and officials are looking for the connection between the attack. 4 other people were taken to hospital after the attack in Hadera, and 2 others were treated at the site of the shooting. Police said the counter-terrorism officers happened to be in a restaurant near the shooting and brought the attack to an end. We move to Nigeria, and a tanker truck loaded with petrol exploded in the Nigeria's city of Lagos, killing at least 6 people. Officials said the tanker had a head-on collision with another truck, which resulted in the blaze destroying both vehicles. A motorbike rider caught in the flames was among the victims of the Sunday evening incident. Nigeria has been frequently deadly road accidents and explosions involving fuel tankers in recent years. Burkina Faso security forces have arrested the former speaker days after he called for the immediate release of ousted President Roch Kabore. Alhassan Bala Sakande, who is also the leader of the foreign and the former ruling party, was arrested by the police at his home early Sunday morning. He was reportedly released without charge after hours of interrogation in the capital, Ouagadougou. Mr. Sakande said the former president was not under house arrest but in detention due to the difficult conditions he had allegedly been subjected to. The former president was deposed in January and has since held under house arrest since then. The West African Regional Bloc ECOWAS, which has threatened to impose further sanctions on Burkina Faso, has demanded his unconstitutional release. To some entertainment story, sadly, the triumph victory of Coda, a touching independent film about the Death family and the hearing daughter, has been completely eclipsed by Will Smith slapping comedian Chris Rock. Comedian Chris Rock was slapped by actor Will Smith for bad-mouthing ex-wife Jada Smith. On social media, it is dominating the conversation with hashtags like household and toxic masculinity trending. One uncensored clip of the altercation has been viewed 7.1 million times. This is where I end the afternoon news on Ghana Talks Radio. Thank you so much for tuning into it. You can visit our website www.ghanatalksradio.com for more news updates. My name is Sandra Asante. Stay tuned for the Sport Tidbit. Enjoy your afternoon.